Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Mafex comic book Spider-Man. And this is a figure that I'm very excited about. I'm going to say that it's probably my most anticipated figure of 2019, so I'm very happy to finally have it in my hands. So let's jump right into this. I'm going to take a quick look at the packaging here because I do want to take a moment to appreciate what they did here. It looks like they put a lot of thought and care into the packaging, so that is awesome. I love what they did here with the comic book style numbering panel on the side. And then they actually use the number of the Mafex figure. So this is the 75th Mafex figure, and they have it marked as number 75. And I think that's just a really cool, creative way to do things. I like what they have going on down here. You get a shot of the figure, and then it says Amazing Spider-Man. That looks cool. On the side of the box, you get another look at the figure, and then you have a couple Spider-Man heads, some Spider-Man logos that look nice. On the back of the box, you get a look at the figure itself. And these are pretty much just the promo images, but it does do a good job at displaying all the different things that the figure can do, and it also displays the parts that he comes with, so that is great. And then on the side of the box you get another look at the figure, and then it says Amazing Spider-Man again. So that is very cool stuff. I love when companies actually take time to put some thought and care into the packaging. I know a lot of collectors don't really care about the packaging, and that's fine, but I think that they definitely deserve some love for doing stuff like this. And you could even see like behind Spider-Man, it's kind of hard to see because of the glare, but it also has like artwork that has like some buildings, and it's kind of like a city skyline kind of situation. So that is really, really cool. Very awesome stuff. But anyways, enough of the Unparalleled Universe box review. Let's take a look at the figure itself. Okay, now here's Spider-Man out of the box, and there's a lot of excitement surrounding this figure, so I guess the big question is, does it live up to the hype? And personally, I would say that it does, but I could see some things on here that people would probably dislike. But if you're a big fan of the Toy Biz era Marvel Legends, then I think that you were going to love this figure. This figure feels like something that Toy Biz would have made, but without all the flaws that Toy Biz typically had. Like, there's no big, ugly joints, no skinny, awkward-looking limbs, and no sloppy paint or anything. Well, there's a little bit of sloppy paint, but nothing unforgivable. And yeah, it just feels like this is like a perfected version of what Toy Biz was constantly going for. And I don't know, it was just insane how much I felt like I was holding the Toy Biz figure when I pulled this out of the packaging. And that's a good thing for someone like me that used to love Toy Biz Marvel Legends. And as much as I love the Toy Biz Marvel Legends, I never really got a Spider-Man figure from them that I was really happy with when they got into the the hyper articulated stuff. I know there was a couple good ones, and I've had a couple over the years, but there was never any that I loved enough to hold on to. And that kind of makes me like this guy even more, because this thing is just beautiful. The articulation is awesome, and man, it's just a really good looking figure, and it just felt good opening this thing and messing with it. Like I said, it just brought back those Toy Biz feelings, so it's very exciting. But let's get into it here. As you could see, all the web lines on Spider-Man are sculpted, and there is a lot of like black shading on the figure that you could see. You could see they kind of went overboard here on the lower abs, and not so much up on the chest here, so it kind of clashes a little bit, as you could see. Check that out. But yeah, for the most part, I think it looks good. I love the shading on there. I love the way this blue looks. It kind of has like a metallic type of quality to it. And yeah, it just looks really nice. Sculpted details all over. One thing that kind of stood out to me as a bad thing is his hands look really small, or these open hands look a little small. But other than that, there's no problems with the proportions or anything like that. The feet look good. The sculpted web lines on the lower legs look awesome. And yeah, the figure just looks really nice. I do have some sloppy paint right in here, but again, nothing unforgivable. And one thing I thought was kind of interesting is that they didn't put the spider pattern on the pelvis area. So when you crunch them forward like that, it kind of disappears. And I mean, at first I was like, oh man, that kind of sucks. But then I thought about it. If they did put it on here, it might make his torso look a little bit longer than you'd want it to look. So I think for the most part, they did a really good job with this guy. And look at that. Tell me that doesn't look like a Toy Biz figure. That's insane. Anyways, I'll stop going on about that. But yeah, I love the way the spider on the back looks. It looks big, very 90s inspired. Same thing with the masks, and we'll get into those a little bit more later. But yeah, this thing is just beautiful. And one thing that I love about Mafex figures is they cover the pegs. And I know that's a weird thing to even mention here, because I know most import figures cover the pegs, and that's never an issue. But I've just never seen a comic book Spider-Man like that had the pegs covered. So it's very exciting. But yeah, same thing down in here. And yeah, really good stuff. An awesome looking figure. Okay, now let's get into the accessories, because he does come with a bunch of cool stuff, including multiple sets of hands. First off, we have an open, kind of relaxed looking set of hands. And then he has another set of open hands that are more dramatic, or these can be used as wall crawling hands. And then next up we have a pair of fists. And then you have a pair of thwip hands. And then he has a set of gripping hands. And last but not least, we have a set of wall crawling hands that have magnets in them. And the hands come off really easy. You don't have to worry about the peg breaking or anything. It looks like the peg is a little bit bigger than some that I've seen on other Mafex figures, so that's a good thing. And like I mentioned before, the hands are a little small, so if you absolutely hate them, you could probably use the hands from the Revoltech version. And the peg is a little too small for the hole on the Revoltech one. But you could probably just heat this, the forearm up, pop that joint out, stick the Revoltech joint in there, and then you could use all the different hands that he comes with. And these actually look really nice on him. They look a little bit more cartoony and stuff, but I think they do look cool. And yeah, so I think that's an option if you want to try that out. And he does come with several different web accessories. First off, we have these here, and he actually comes with 2 of each of these, and they're just kind of web blast effects, and they do look pretty cool. But one thing I don't like about them is how the white part kind of surrounds the wrist. I wish they would have painted that red, or just made like a different way to kind of plug this in there. I like the way that Mezco does it because it's kind of hidden by the hand. I understand that they couldn't do that here, but since they couldn't, I wish they would have made it so the bottom part of the ring of the web piece was red. And then next up we have this web accessory that's pretty much just like a straight web that you could use to have him like swinging. And I think that is really cool. That actually might be an awesome way to pose him right on the shelf just like that. Check that out. That is very nice. And the last web accessory is this one here that looks like he kind of shot a web to grab onto something. And it's pretty soft plastic. It doesn't have a bendy wire or anything like that. But it does have a clip that it comes with so that you could attach it to the stand that comes with Spider-Man, and this stand is actually pretty cool too. I've had a couple of these Mafex stands break on me, so you want to be careful with that, but it does look nice, and yeah, you could kind of get creative with it. And Spider-Man does come with multiple heads, including 2 different masked heads, and for me it's really hard to determine which artist these 2 heads are based on, because I know if I say that they're based on McFarlane, someone will come along and say no, they're based on Campbell or Bagley or whatever. So for me, I think it's just fair to say that these 2 heads are based on Spider-Man's 90s look. And to me, this one really feels like McFarlane, if I'm being honest. But, you know, I'm not going to make a big argument if someone says that it's someone different. But I do think it looks good. And then you have this one here with the whites of the eyes a little bit smaller, and the black outline of the eye is thicker. And what I like about these heads, or what's interesting, is right here at the bottom of the jaw, it kind of has a flap as if it's like a mask. It's not just a round head, you know? So I think that's kind of unique. We don't really see that on Spider-Man figures too often. And same thing on this head. So it kind of looks like a fold on the neck area. So I think that's kind of interesting. It's not just a ball on top of the neck. So pretty cool stuff. And then, of course, you have the unmasked Peter Parker head, and I'm a big fan of this face sculpt, actually. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think it came out pretty good, and I think it does a good job of capturing like a mid-20s or maybe even late 20s kind of Peter Parker. And that's kind of where he was at in the 90s. He was like getting married, he was in college, all that kind of stuff. I'd say probably more in his mid-20s, not so much early 30s, but it was around that time. I mean, that age range. He wasn't really a teenager or anything like that. And I think this face sculpt captures that really good. You know, it looks like a more mature looking Peter Parker. And I think they did a nice job with it. I like the hair, it's light brown, and you have some paint like wash in there that looks good. You've got the little pieces of hair hanging down on his forehead here. And yeah, I think it's just a good general Peter Parker. I feel like it's not coming out as good on camera as it looks in hand, but I am happy with it. And it does have the feature where you're able to remove the neck piece, so it looks like his kind of costume is coming up his neck a little bit, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, I like this face sculpt a lot. And then you have this removed mask piece that looks pretty cool. I like the fact that you can make him look like he's holding onto his mask when he's not wearing it. So that's a very cool accessory. I think the same thing came with the Mafex movie Homecoming Spider-Man. So that's a really cool accessory. And it is hard to get him to grip it, but it's right there in the gripping hand that I use for the web lines. And he does come with an extra set of feet that have magnets in them. And these magnets are okay, but they're not the strongest thing in the world. So if you want to have him securely on a metal surface, then it's probably a good idea to make contact with the feet and the hands onto the surface. And that's probably your best bet to get him to stay there. But even then, he could be knocked over easily. They're not the strongest magnets ever. So I do wish they were a little stronger, but it's still a very cool feature. Now it's time to get crazy with size comparisons because I know a lot of people are going to want to use this Spider-Man for their definitive 6-inch Spider-Man, so I'm going to do my best to show him off with as many different 6-inch lines as possible. So starting off, here he is with the Marvel Legends Bucky cap and Marvel Legends Captain America from the Red Onslaught Build-A-Figure wave. And you could see that he looks really good next to a couple of Marvel Legends figures. A lot of times, Mafex figures are big and like oversized, and they're big for imports, but they're also just big in general. Sometimes they feel like they're a little bit bigger than 6-inch, but that's not the case with Spider-Man. He looks really good next to these Marvel Legends figures. And then now here we have him with the Marvel Legends Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales and the Marvel Legends Scarlet Spider. And now here we have him with the Sentinel Armorized Metallic Iron Man and the Mezco 112 Collective Iron Man. And if you'd like your Spider-Man to be a little bit shorter than Tony Stark, then this works out really good. And now here he is next to the Mezco 112 Collective Tactical Suit Punisher and the Marvel Legends Sasquatch Wave Deadpool. Here we have him alongside the Mafex Homecoming Suit Spider-Man and the Mezco 112 Collective Classic Spider-Man. Here he is next to the Revoltech Carnage and the Revoltech Spider-Man, and I think he looks really good next to Carnage, actually. I think they'll match up very well together. And now here we have him with a couple of Marvel Legends Spider-Man figures. On the left, we have the Hasbro re-release of the Toy Biz Spider-Man, which is commonly referred to as the McFarlane Spider-Man, and then on the right, we have Pizza Spider-Man. And let's take a quick look at Spider-Man next to a bunch of random Spider-Man-related characters from Marvel Legends. Here we have him with the Marvel Legends Carnage and Marvel Legends Venom. Here we have Hobgoblin and the Jackal. Next up is Puma and Kraven the Hunter. And then now we have Shocker and Mysterio. And now here we have him with the Marvel Select Venom and Marvel Select Carnage. And even though those characters kind of change size and things like that, I think they might be a little too big to be hanging around with the Mafex Spider-Man. And last but not least, here's Spider-Man next to the Marvel Legends Kingpin Build-A-Figure. In the articulation department, this figure really shines because all the joints are very smooth and fluid. He's very easy to move around. None of the joints are too loose or tight. You don't feel like anything's gonna break. I know that Mafex is notorious for having bad QC issues, but that's not the case with Spider-Man. So, you know, I feel comfortable just messing around with him constantly, and I haven't really put this figure down since I opened it. And yeah, there's been no issues as far as like fragile joints or anything like that. So he is a lot of fun to pose and mess around with. And he does have a crazy amount of articulation. So let's get into it here. His head is able to move side to side. You have some crazy tilt to it. You have movement at where the neck meets the torso and where the head meets the neck. So there's a lot of great movement all the way around. You could get him to look all the way up like that. You could get him to look down to about there. And then for his torso, he has a mid-torso cut and then a waist cut. And using both of those, you could get him to go side to side a really nice amount. You could get him to lean back to about there. Then you have some twists. You could twist at the mid-torso joint and a little bit at the waist, but it's kind of an awkward shape, so you're not going to get much twisting out of there, but that's okay because you get what you need out of right here. And his ab crunch is okay. It's not the best, you know. I think that he would have been, I think he would have benefited from some more ab crunch. But you are able to get him into crouching poses because you could bring his legs way up by dropping him down. So, you know, it works out fine, as you could see. But I do wish that he could get into a deeper crouch pose. But still, I'm happy with what we have going on here. And then for his arms, they do have ball jointed shoulders, but you also have this joint here where you can move the shoulder all around, you know. See that right there? You could bring it out to the front. You could have his arms out in front of him. So that's really nice. And yeah, look at that. These joints are awesome. These shoulder joints are really cool. You could get his fist cocked back like he's gonna punch someone. So really good shoulders here. And obviously they could go all the way around like that. And then you have the upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, swivel at the wrist, and a hinge at the wrist. And then for the legs, let's see here. So it does have like the typical import type of hip setup where you could drop his legs down. And that's really cool because then you're able to get his legs way up in front of him. So that is really nice. And then you could bring him out to the side. Then he does have an upper thigh swivel. And he can't really go back too much. Let's see, even if you drop the leg down, you could get it going back a little bit, but not too much. And again, all the joints, I'm very secure messing with this figure. I really don't feel like the joints are going to break or anything. And that's unique for Mafex because, you know, as much as I like Mafex figures, and to be honest, I've been pretty lucky with them. I haven't had too many break on me. I know that that's something that they're known for. So I'm so happy that a figure that you're probably going to want to handle a lot doesn't have those issues. Anyways, back to it here. So his legs do have the double jointed knees. And then his feet have a ball joint there, so you could swivel side to side. You could bring them forward, bring them up, and you have some rocking action. And then you have articulated toes. So yeah, a really nice amount of articulation. And my only complaint is I do wish that the ab crunch got a little more crunch to it. But again, like I said, I think I could pretty much get what I want to out of this figure. And, you know, if you really want to, you could probably modify it. You know, if you're crazy like that and you like to modify $90 figures. But, you know, it's possible. You could maybe get some deeper crunch out of that. But yeah, I'm very happy with the articulation, and, you know, I'm not going to modify it at all. I'm fine with how it is. So yeah, you could definitely get him into all kinds of really cool poses. So overall, I love this figure. I think that Mafex did an incredible job with it, and it pretty much has everything that I love about a Spider-Man figure. It has an awesome sculpt, super good articulation, a bunch of accessories, and it's a lot of fun to pose and play with and mess around with. It's hard to put it down. It's such a fun and cool figure, and I know that a lot of people are going to say that this is the best 6-inch Spider-Man out there, and I feel that way too. And I like a lot of the other ones. I like the Pizza Spider-Man from Marvel Legends. I like the Revoltech one. I like the Mezco one, but none of those figures are as good as this one here. This one kind of blows all those out of the water. So it's just really exciting to have this Spider-Man figure because I feel like with Spider-Man, it's very similar to Hulk, where he's such a big character and they put out so many figures of him that, I mean, there's a bunch of cool Spider-Mans out there, but there isn't any that I loved, you know. I never got a Spider-Man figure and felt like I don't need any more Spider-Man figures, if that makes any sense. There's always some kind of flaw or something like that. And even though this figure, no figure is perfect, this figure has a couple small flaws, but for me, I'd be okay if, you know, nobody ever made a comic book Spider-Man again. Of course, I'm sure people will, and I will buy all of them, but this Mafex figure completely satisfies my need for a comic book Spider-Man. It has everything that you'd want in a Spider-Man figure, and I'm sure that some people will find things to complain about, and one thing I could see people complaining about is the shading, because some of it is a little heavy, and then the hands being really small. And yeah, those things are true, but those really aren't things that are gonna bug me too much, you know? I mean, I notice those things, but they're not things that jump out to me as, you know, negative. It just kind of is what it is. It's not, those things don't ruin the figure for me whatsoever. It has very little effect on my overall opinion about the figure, and I just can't wait to see what else Mafex does with the comic book Marvel stuff. I know they have Venom announced and Deadpool and Cyclops and Wolverine and all that good stuff, but honestly, they should keep going with some Spider-Man stuff. I would love to see them do an Agent Venom or Spider-Man 2099, Scarlet Spider. I'd be all over every single one of those, and I'm sure that they would do a fantastic job on each one of those characters. So I really hope that they continue to explore Spider-Man characters, because they killed it with this figure, and I'm sure that anyone who gets this figure is going to agree with me. And one thing that's a flaw, but it's not necessarily a flaw with the figure, is the price. You know, it is an expensive figure, but I really think that you will be happy if you purchase this figure, because he's a very nice Spider-Man and he fits in really good with a bunch of different lines. So yeah, just a lot of positive stuff with this Spider-Man, and I'm so happy to finally have it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Did this figure live up to the hype? It seems like a lot of people are getting this figure all over Instagram. Everybody's posting that they have this figure and all that good stuff, and it's awesome that everyone's kind of getting this figure at the same time so we could all enjoy it at the same time. But yeah, let me know in the comments, did this figure live up to the hype? I think it did, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. So anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.